And let's talk about Lane Rogers. So I gagged when I saw this story yesterday. So Lane Rogers, who a lot of y'all may know as Blake Mitchell, the news came out yesterday, and unfortunately, he died in a motorcycle accident. So it was a accident, a terrible, horrible accident. So let's get into this story. So Lane Rogers was, as I said, unalived in a motorcycle accident in California this week. Shout out to Straight Up Gay Porn for this story. There was a bunch of other people, but I saw that Straight Up Gay Porn did it. Um, they are devastated to report he was only 31 years old. Now, Lane had been visiting friends in LA and Ventura counties over the weekend, and he was riding the motorcycle near Pacific Coast Highway in Oxnard, where he collided with a box truck at 3:48 p.m. on Monday. Ventura County Fire arrived moments later, and he was pronounced unalive at 3:58 p.m. Lane's family had been notified, and an investigation into the crash ongoing. I also saw that TMZ reported on it, and they were literally saying something or another that they wanted to check his system to see if there was drugs involved. Now, why all of a sudden, when it's somebody who makes adult cinematography, they had to be hiding Cooter Brown in order for them to die in a motorcycle accident? Things like this happens when people are riding motorcycles. Things happen. People can get a little reckless with the motorcycles, or sometimes they get the best of you. That's why I was gonna say that's why I'm not particularly big on motorcycles. But then again, it could happen with a car too. So, and I was like, wait a minute now. Now, why all of a sudden is TMZ covering a story about an adult performer? And I hate when people in the comments was like, hoo, hoo, hoo. Well, if you don't watch movies with boys sucking on each other's dicks, you wouldn't know who the hell Blake Mitchell is. So I hate when people jump in the comments about who. It's like, fucking use Google, regardless of who it is. Even if it was him or if it was anybody, y'all really be thinking y'all eating in the comments when y'all write who? What are you, a fucking owl? Maybe you'll come back as one in your next life. You keep that shit up. But anyway, let me get off of that because I was going on a tangent for no reason. Well, no reason. But let me bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. So now, they basically said that it was the family was notified. Blah 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 blah. Lane had rented the motorcycle to use during his week-long stay in Cali, and he did have prior experience using the type of vehicle in Kentucky, where he lived and is survived by numerous loved ones, a cat, two horses, and a dog. So I guess he was. I wonder, was he still doing the adult stuff? Because I really hadn't followed Lane over the years. I remember at one point he did change his name. I do remember when he used to do like Cam 4 and Treasure Break, those other ones. That's where I first became aware of Blake Mitchell. And then he went legit. Once you started showing his tits. So yeah, then they showing him with all the different porn stars. Then they showing him with Bianca Del Rio. Shout out to Bianca. And so let's get into his backstory. So Lane Vincent Rogers was born on August 14th, 1994, in Lexington, Kentucky. By his own account, his early years were rough. So I didn't graduate high school, he once said in an interview. I got expelled from two high schools my senior year. To make ends meet, Lane worked at various restaurants, including what he described as shitty pizza place and a diner he had to walk 6 miles to reach. Being outed as bisexual by a teenager in conservative Kentucky only added to his struggles, leading to alienation and bullying that would later be explored in a semi-autobiographical novel based on his life. But Lane was determined to find his own way out. The story of how Lane entered the entertainment industry is almost too wild to be true. So one night, late night, I should say, while working at the diner and as he admitted, aimlessly scrolling through Grindr, he met someone who invited him out after his shift and they dated for a while. I remember hearing this story actually. At his friend's house, he met a group of women celebrating their earnings. What followed was an unexpected introduction into the world of webcam modeling. Now, intrigued by the potential, Lane started modeling on a webcamming site on February 2014. He quickly caught the attention of industry professionals, and soon after, Blake Mitchell was born. Probably because he had that whole twink thing going, that whole boy next door twink situation. The name choice was simple but personal. It said Blake, it's a hot guy's name, duh. Mitchell, the hot guy, he was the real boy next door type and one of my first crushes. In December of 2014, Lane had signed an exclusive contract with Helix Studios, one of the biggest names in gay or homosexual entertainment. What followed was a meteoric rise that would make him one of the most recognizable faces in the industry. Now, Lane's early career was nothing short of remarkable. He won multiple awards and was named Performer of the Year. Instinct magazine included him on their list of the 10 most influential homosexual adult stars of the 2010s, but Lane was never content to be defined solely by his work in front of the camera. In 2018, author Taylor Sarakin published his own way out, a semi-autobiographical novel based on Lane's life as part of the Rise Up series. The book traces his journey from a struggling teenager in Kentucky to finding success on his own terms, tackling themes of identity, bullying, and self-discovery along the way. Lane embarked on a national book tour, signing copies and speaking with fans at bookstores in Chicago, Madison, I'm sure that was Wisconsin, San Diego, Santa Monica, and his hometown of Lexington. The reception was overwhelming, with readers praising the book's honest portrayal of a young man who refused to let his circumstances define him. This is the most amazing part, Lane said at the time, explaining that knowing he'd been able to help someone who might feel alone or different was one of the great joys of his life. And you want to know something? This is the thing I absolutely love about adult performers, is that you don't just cuck yourself to, oh, I gotta just stretch my hole or do all kinds of sexual stuff, and that's like all I'm contributing. And you gotta try to continue to feed that beast or whatever the case is, or you gotta create a bunch of online stunts in order to get attention, like Whites Again or whatever. I mean, I like some of the stuff like paint himself green, and he came up and did the whole Fox thing. Like, it's like you always got to try to find a way to one up the last stunt you did. But it was nice that this kid was like, you know what? I want to take a lot of the things that I went through, take my struggles or whatever, put it in a book. And if somebody was dealing with that sort of thing, then hopefully it helps them want to better themselves. It's always good when, you have these performers out here using their stuff for good instead of just being just a piece of meat, which is kind of like how everybody tends to look at adult performers anyway, like they're not human beings. So now, over the years, Lane had built a substantial following on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, where he shared vlogs about his daily life, everything from house tours of his rental home to food adventures and travel content. At his peak, he had over 80,000 YouTube subscribers, more than 400,000 Instagram followers, and more than 700,000 Twitter followers. But it wasn't just the glossy content that resonated with fans. Lane was refreshingly open about his struggles, the challenges of dating while working in adult entertainment, and the complicated feelings that came with his chosen career. In July 2018, he posted a video called I'm Lonely that struck a chord with viewers, saying, I want to open up to you and talk about the difficulties and challenges that my career has imposed upon my dating life. The first challenge has to do with finding people who are interested in me for me, not just for my fame. And that's definitely something that a lot of these performers have to deal with, whether you do adult performances or you do performances like if you're a singer or an actor or whatever the case is. He spoke candidly about people asking him for shout outs while they were dating, about strangers making inappropriate comments in public because they felt entitled to, and about the isolation that came from being recognized everywhere he went. Saying, quote, is it possible to be lonely when you have 100K plus followers? He asked. The kind of honesty made him more than just a performer. It made him someone fans genuinely cared about. And I guess him leaving that, to me, it was like he kind of made the whole being personable reality connection thing more attainable. Like, now where people tend to look at celebrities and feel like, oh yeah, you got to be engaging with your fans on Instagram. You need to be engaging with your fans on social media and stuff in order to feel somewhat relatable. And he was doing that before it was trendy, because he was just, I just want to open myself up and use the internet as my own personal vlog. And that's what a lot of people are doing. So yeah, his romantic life also played out publicly, and his fans were deeply invested in his happiness. Now, one of the first major relationships was with Casey Tanner, a fellow Helix performer he began dating in 2015. The couple became fan favorites, known for their adorable cake date YouTube videos where they bake together, joke around, and just be a sweet couple in love. The two split in August of 2016, tragically. Casey passed away in April of 2023 at just 28 years old after battling health problems for years. Lane paid tribute to him on social media, and those who knew him described Casey as one of Lane's soulmates. After his breakup with Casey, Lane was open about the loneliness experience, but in October of 2018, while promoting his book in Phoenix, Arizona, he met Chad Alec, a 26-year-old hairstylist who would become his next great love. The two connected on Instagram and their chemistry was immediate. By December, Lane was introducing Chad to his YouTube audience, declaring them a power couple and announcing plans to move to LA together. Saying, so we're moving to LA and we're going to become rich and famous and successful and travel the world. This is what he said and all that good stuff. So then Chad later entered the industry himself, and the couple collaborated on content together, building a loyal following as one of the internet's favorite pairs. The two broke up after a few years together, which, as often is the case, has led to some internet drama. Most recently, Lane had been in a relationship with a woman, a fact that shouldn't have surprised anyone who'd been paying attention. Well, Lane did say he was bisexual, so I don't know why people would be surprised. Just because you mostly saw him getting in relationships with men doesn't necessarily mean that if the opportunity present himself, that he wouldn't have dated a girl. So he said, yeah, he was always upfront about his bisexuality from the very beginning of his career, but that didn't stop some fans from expressing disappointment or even hostility when he dated women. And I think it's because a lot of times y'all run around expecting that well, how dare you betray us? And you sit there and think that somebody who says that they're bisexual, oh, they're just lying. Eventually, you gonna come out as a homosexual. And it's like, stop doing that. Like, bisexual people do exist. Just because you like dick and you strictly dickly, so don't try to put your stuff on other people. If somebody tells you they swing both ways, or that they're fluid or whatever the case is, take them as for what they say. Shout out to all the B's and the LGBT, the B and Leviticus. So yeah, it was a frustration that he addressed openly, pushing back against the biphobia he encountered even with the the Leviticus plus community. For him, being true to himself meant embracing all aspects of his identity, regardless of who approved. Now, in 2019, he made a significant decision. He would no longer go by Blake Mitchell in his public life. Say, you guys know my real name now. I'm Lane. It's weird to say. I don't think I've ever said that in a video like this in a long time, so it's pretty crazy, but I'm happy. The decision came after years of feeling lost in the character he created. When people started trying to blackmail him with his real identity, he decided to take the power back by outing himself on his own terms. People are so disgusting out there. Oh, we gonna tell people what your real name is. Well, fuck you, bitch. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get ahead of it. And so, like, this is me, this is my name, and this is what I'm going to go by. I'm taking the power back. And that's the way y'all have to embrace a lot of these shady behind blackmailers, the ones that want to come out here and thinking they're going to one-up you or they can blackmail you out of money or whatever the case is. Don't ever let these haters win or see you sweat. Take a hold of it. That's why I always love the fact when people try to come for Madonna and was like, oh, we going to expose your nudes. Expose them. I did the pictures back in the end. You get ahead of it. The minute you get ahead of something that somebody tries to hold over on you, you take the power back. So shout out to him for being able to do that. And then he was also saying that his real friends were starting to ask him questions like, well, should we call you Lane or should we call you Blake? And I realized I had gotten lost in the character and it was terrifying. And a lot of times it's like, yeah, if you have a stage persona, it's like, you have to be on all the time, or you feel like you have to act this certain way because that's what this persona that you've created is expected. And people tend to get lost in that character they've created and tend to lose a sense of themselves. So I'm glad that he was able to find that way of getting back to who he was. And that's always a struggle when when you have dual identities and you're a performer, trying to find that balance. So yeah, then since the social media presence, the public appearances, the general persona, all that stuff, he was Lane, and his OF persona remained under the name Blake. So they said he scaled back his YouTube and Twitch presence, explaining that he felt like he was giving too many small pieces of himself to multiple things when he could be focusing on what truly mattered. So, like I was saying, he never forgot where he came from. He remained proud of his Kentucky roots, often sharing glimpses of his Southern upbringing on social media, whether rocking a cowboy hat or showing off his love for horses. And they would show like pictures of him like riding a horse. So I was like, oh, you like Brent Corrigan. Y'all love riding horses. He also pursued higher education, enrolling at the University of Kentucky to continue his personal growth beyond the industry, which made him famous. He was building a life that was authentically his on his own terms in his own way. His close friend Andrew, who was also his roommate at the time, captured Lane's spirit perfectly in a tribute posted on social media, saying, when we reconnected in Seattle in 2016, I didn't know what to make of him. He had this energy that draws you in, makes you hang on every word. We were just supposed to get coffee, but ended up spending 2 days driving around the city causing trouble. From Sicily to Manhattan, from the Jessamine County Gorge to Dofusky Island, Lane only ever had one speed go. So they said he only had one speed. So that's how he did everything. It was like he did all the things. He went to school, he built the business, he rescued horses, he defied every expectation of who he was supposed to become. And I feel like, you know what, with him passing away, the way I look at it, I feel like what that is was Lane had a full circle moment. I feel like with all that time of him with the self-discovery and him taking his life on his own terms and doing all the things he needed to do, I feel like the universe was like, you know what? You've done all you needed to do to finally come to be completely 110% Lane. And unfortunately, this had to be your time that God called you home. So I'm looking at it that way. But with all that being said, because this is a long ass article, like how much more do I have to read, Chad? Let's get into some of these condolences from his adult performer peers. So Evan Jordy, said, I never met Lane. In fact, we barely ever talked, but somehow he still felt like a friend. He was just such an overwhelmingly warm, genuine person. He could make you feel seen and appreciate with just a few simple words. He really was the best of us. And then, hold on. Joey Mills said the following, because you know they collaborated. Over the last decade, Lane has been one of my closest and kindest friends, the type that would literally fly across the country at the drop of a hat to help you if you needed it, the kind that you could sit and talk with for hours about nothing and everything all at the same time. He did so much in his lifetime, yet there was still so much more for him to do. He really loved and inspired so many people in this world, including myself, and always pushed himself and his friends to do better. I have so many great things to say about, yet still can't find the right words to put it all together. I'll forever hope to make him proud. It's been such a numbing experience to hear this news, to say the least. I keep finding myself walking around my house, talking to him, wondering if he can hear me. It still doesn't feel real. I just hope that his family is doing okay and he's resting easy with Bandit and everyone else he ever missed. P.S. Say hi to Casey for me. And we already mentioned who Casey was earlier in the conversation. Liam Riley said, my heart is so heavy with the passing of my loved one at Lane V. Rogers. I can't believe I would be making this post so soon. Where do I even begin? 10 years ago, Lane walked into my life. We shared so many beautiful memories I'll cherish forever. He was the sweetest, smartest, most charming man I ever met, a true definition of a gentleman. He was so romantic and loved so unconditionally. My favorite thing was how safe and beautiful he had always made me feel. Lane was a love I'll have in my heart for the rest of my life. I last saw him on Sunday evening. Thank you for making my last day with you incredible. How I wish I could spend more time with you, getting to see your favorite team, go Rams, win the game, and make it to the playoffs will be a memory I hold forever. I love you very much, and I'm going to miss you every day. And that's crazy. Like, he literally saw him the day before he passed. Leo Graham said, every Tuesday morning, I had a phone call with Lane's mother and heart broke all over again. I'm utterly devastated and shocked beyond comprehension at his death. Lane would say to me, take a big bite out of life, Chad. And that's exactly how he lived. No matter what he was going through, Lane always chose happiness. The impact Lane had on my life is immeasurable and can't be described in any other way than I would not be who I am today if it weren't for him. He meant the world to me, and I will miss him every day. Jacob King says, rest in peace, Lane. Heartbroken emoji, so sad. Then we have Silas Brooks, he beefed with his twin. But in addition to that, Fly High, my friend, one of the nicest and charming people I had the pleasure of knowing, R.I.P. Grayson Lane said, heartbroken to hear the passing of Lane Bean Rogers. That doesn't even feel real. He was the sweetest guy with a big heart. One of the few genuine people in the industry. My heart goes out to his family during this time. Adam Albright said the last time we hung out, I asked what he's into. He misunderstood and listed horses, cowboys. Well, He said, you were trying to fornicate, you little whore. But he said, we laughed when I clarified in bed, made some joking neigh horses at him before and after. We were, I guess what I guess that's what you're talking about. We were supposed to see each other tomorrow. I was looking forward to teasing him with more horseplay jokes. And then we have Max Carter with that picture. Men.com sent out their condolences. Steve Ricks sent out his condolences. I'll leave this up for a minute because I'm like, I'll let y'all have a moment where y'all can pause it and then read it. But then we got Miss Shortcake has sent out her condolences, saying he was the sweetest person. Then we got Casey Roman, was showing him with his Gay Vienna Awards, saying nothing but good things. Then we got Kaito. Ooh, I like his content. It's like Kaito Swabe. So it's about he's so sad to hear about it. Then we got Reese Jackson. And we got M. Indica. JJ Knight. Well, I met him back when I lived in LA, where I used to go to Avita. They had a little VIP section. It was like me having like my flashback. I was like, yeah, I remember that he had a VIP because I would hang out with the House of Avalon in one section, and then he was in the VIP section with Bo Banks and a bunch of the other performers when I used to hang out at Avita back when I lived in LA and I was hanging out in West Hollywood. That's why I met him. That's why I met who else was there? Who now showing all their nude body parts after years of teasing. Nick Mask and all of them. So anyway, so JD Knight says gone way too soon. Much love to his family and close friends. Jake Preston sent out something, so I'll leave that up for a second. And we got Sean Ford with this long one. I was like, it goes on and on and on. So y'all pretty much get the idea of what's going on with Blake. So yeah, unfortunately, you know, we lost somebody who they said he was a good man, Savannah. It was like somebody was prominent within the adult cinematography world. I don't even know if he still made content. I mean, it was still up there as Blake, but yeah, it was sad to hear this news when I heard about it yesterday. So yeah, I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this sad news regarding us losing yet another person in the adult film industry? Gone too soon, such a young age, 31 years old. So yeah, I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below.